Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Barry D is back with another All Politics Are Local.
I am into our third season of All Politics Are Local, and I am still your host, Barry D.
Give me a break.
Yeah, not a chance. Week after week, I come back with the news and perspective that sometimes you agree with and sometimes will drive you nuts. There have been people here that tell me that they won't listen to the show when Carla from Chester County Ramblings is on, and there's people that tell me they won't listen to the show when I'm on. But seriously, I try very hard to bring information to all 6 of my listeners about what's going on in Chester County, as well as things that are happening elsewhere in the world that could have an effect on where we live, and most times does. And I am coming to you live from the 17th floor of the WCHE studios at 105 West Gay Street in Westchester, and we are just a couple blocks away from Descenso Gelato, located at 132 East Gay Street, right here in the borough of Westchester. Summertime is here, and that means you need something to keep you cool. These guys in the borough have been here for 11 years and have no signs of slowing down. Now listen, they don't have a website that I've seen, but they are on Facebook. They got a great Facebook page, and out of 327 reviews, they have a 98% recommendation rate.
What does that even mean?
That means people like them, you big dummy. So, if I were you, I would pop on by, check out those guys for lunch today. They're open till noon. You need something like that. And if you can't get there right away, forget about it. It's okay. They're open until 11 tonight and on Saturday. They work hard, man. They got a lot of hours they're open. So when you finish your dinner, skip that restaurant dessert menu and go over to Descenso's Gelato for a smoother, richer taste than just ice cream. And there's another shameless plug for a local business.
Oh, my God.
At the boards today is the ever-popular Eric Clambera. Most people don't know this, but one time he was considered to be Harry Styles' backup singer. But they turned... Yeah, you even know it before the punchline. They turned Eric down because he was too damn good-looking. Crack me up. Remember, no calling during the show. I don't have time to answer the phone. Every week, at least one person tries. They try to get on the show, and every week, there's a lonely strobe light blinking into eternity. Besides, I'm still trying to figure out how to use this newfangled phone system.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
But definitely call the morning show. We'd love to hear from you then. So what do I have this week?
Ooh, I'm dying!
Yeah, me too. We don't have Jack. Oh, no, we have lots of stuff, but Jack isn't with us today. See, he had to go to Detroit. That's right. So he's out there, probably jamming with Kiss right now. So he's out, and hopefully he'll be back next week. But I do have my monologue, and it's an eye-opener. And then I have my monthly guest, Tom Helwig, to talk about the latest goings-on in the Russia-Ukraine war.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
I thought it was the Japanese. That's weird. But first, let's travel back a quarter century, back to when woke wasn't a thing yet. I know, some people hate that term, and that's why I use it. But it was when poking fun wasn't taken so seriously and people had a desperate search. You just had to search everywhere to be offended. It took so long. Now it's much easier, of course. And the most important status you could possess was to be a victim. I mean, political correctness had already been created and was expanding, but it's nothing like today. So here's where we do our little time travel. We head back into the early 2000s, back to fun ads, when people didn't get offended. If they did, nobody cared. And companies sold products, not messages of how you should think. Hit it.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Cell Phone Holster Wearer.
Mr. Cell Phone Holster Wearer.
A six-shooter? No. A two-handed broadsword? No. Your hip is permanently strapped with 3 inches of cold cellular steel, and you're not afraid to use it.
As long as I'm not roaming.
Through optimal cellular positioning, you answer calls in under a second. Anything over that, and you might as well be using smoke signals.
Barbecue.
Ignoring the fact that cell phones are now small enough to fit in your pocket, you tell the world, I have a cell phone, and it's not in my pocket.
I'm just happy to see you.
So crack open an ice cold Bud Light, oh hero of the holster, because on our speed dial, you'll always be number one.
Mr. Cell Phone Hoster,
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
You know what? My monologue's going to be long. I was going to take a break, but yeah, let's get to the monologue right now.
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Yeah, I love that last bit. I think that's a xylophone there. There's nothing better than a xylophone, I think, in music. You got to have those. You know, as most people are aware, politics is a bizarre business. It's this strange dance consisting of participants that include theorists, ideologues, gangsters, profiteers, manipulators, players, con men, and even altruists. Most, but not all, try to sell themselves as altruists. And that, my friends, is where the uninitiated get steamrolled. Because we want to believe the best in people. We want to believe what they say. But what they say and what they do or what they are two totally different things, right? And by the time you figure that out, you've already voted for them into office, and you are filled with regret. So here's a little lesson on one major battle that happened, but over 99% of the county has no idea what's going on. First, I'm going to build in the back, and then I'm going to explain it to you. You know, we watch the news at night, and the issue du jour becomes the subject that has to be dealt with immediately. Like, we got to do this. Everything is an emergency. Take, for example, SEPTA last year. Knowing that they were going to be out of the huge Pennsylvania funding, they knew that was going to happen for 15 years and never did anything to prepare for it until it completely ran out, because then it's an emergency. And they got money that was pulled out of who knows where because it's an emergency and people do things without all the research and they just go, we got to fix this now. Just throw the money at it. That's not to say there aren't emergencies, but all issues are not emergencies. So those knee-jerk reactions that people respond to usually end up being the wrong solution. You've heard it before. We need to do something now. Anything's better than nothing. If we don't get it right, we'll simply go back and change it. But you know, lots of times that change either never comes, or finally, after terrible damage is created from terrible decision-making, people lose their homes, they die, things are irreparably damaged. Let's say, like, I don't know, the decisions like everything the government did during COVID, a pandemic that turned out to not even meet the definition of a pandemic. And then only then are the powers that be actually removing or fixing what they screwed up after all the damage was done. And it destroyed people's lives. But this happens over and over again. COVID's just an example. I don't want people out there, COVID was not a scam. I don't care about that. What I'm saying is they made a lot of wrong moves. Let's move on because this isn't about COVID. The people in power either never consider or they marginalize the consequences they created, which many times makes the cure worse than the disease. Is it intentional? Maybe. Maybe not. And some real dummies out there. But that's what makes conspiracy theories live. You know, Paul Begala, a political consultant that's famous for his Clinton and Obama years, said that politics is show business for ugly people. Now, I didn't much care for Paul Begala, but he was absolutely right. Now, they can be physically ugly, but that isn't what he meant, or at least I don't think this is it. It's swimming in a pool with the same people that I listed above, and then the number one most common quality, I would guess, that's about 75% of them, is narcissism. There are many type A personalities out there which are driven people. Most of them are driven for themselves. Not necessarily for the good of the people, while they're saying it's for the good of the people. And since the average person reacts according to their emotions, the people in politics prey on this attribute. Rhetoric and influence are their tools. And the quicker they can get the job done before the average person can learn more about what's being done, the better the chance the politician will get what he wants for the people. They keep him in his position, and then the money just keeps flowing into his or her coffers. Some money for re-election, and some might just happen to make it to him personally, depending upon who's pushing the issue. But this is just what you see and hear through the propaganda-laden media on the picture box and radio or other audio formats. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes. All this conduct, it starts somewhere. But where is it that it actually starts? I mean, these people are all around us, and they, for the most part, aren't born into politics. But somehow they've gravitated towards it. For some, it's just a start in college, many having ties to political science being a major. Those starry-eyed individuals get out of college, go to work on campaigns, or they get internships in legislators' office. From there, some wash out, they get disgusted with it, and go on to something else. And others, well, they keep working for elected officials. Some even get into office after that. I knew a little girl that used to visit Princess's house all the time, my wife, and she used to hang out with her, and she'd see Princess on the computer and all that, and she was kind of influenced and got inspired to go into politics because of what she was working on, what Princess was working on. And she did, and she has since done several campaigns and then moved into the RNC, and she's one of the upper people in that to this day. So she did not wash out. And in between, had a couple kids, has a beautiful house, and everything's worked out well for her. And she's got quite the stomach for it. But you know, that isn't the only way people become immersed in the sea of politics. Some get involved in some cause and push for something, and that I kind of think is funny because of the hypocrisy, right? Because a lot of those same people, the average person, that they're fighting for some change, they're out presenting things to legislators, and they'll tell you they hate lobbyists, in air quotes, lobbyists. Yet that's exactly what they themselves are doing. They're lobbying for change. They, indeed, are actually lobbyists. But, you know, we never look at ourselves through that same lens, do we? Another way to get involved with a political party, and this, we're starting to warm up to where I'm going, kids, is either volunteering or becoming a committee person, which involves getting on the... You got to get on the ballot, right? So you have to go out and do a petition. You need 10 signatures. You get 10 people in your own party. You submit that to voter services. You get on the ballot. And you get elected to that position at the polls. Kind of cool seeing your name on a ballot. So this, my friends, is where the land of the misfit toys is located. Because the people that become a member of either the Democrat or Republican committee many times do so to push their own agenda. Whether it's a religious one, abortion, anti-abortion, anti-war, pro-war, historic preservation, hanging kittens with piano wire, whatever it is, they all have their little pet projects. And they see the opportunity to move their local party towards supporting what they want, or they have it in common with the party platform and they want to help. I'm not saying all of them are driven by one single goal, but a lot of them are. Now, let me get into the explanation of the structure of committees. Committees, whether Democrat or Republican, have 2 members in each voting district. Those are committee people. They represent the party. They campaign for candidates. You see them at the polls if you don't use a mail-in ballot. They're the people going, hey, do you need any literature? Blah, 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 blah. Those committee people belong to the Township Committee, which has nothing to do with the elected politicians. Understand, these are not governmental positions. These are party positions. It's no different than belonging to the Elks Club or the Moose Club or being a Mason. They're their own entity. They're pushing their party at the polls. Okay, so these are party positions, not elected positions. Some people conflate the two. They're not related other than by politics. Those township committees are a larger part of a group, and there it's either called a zone if you're a Democrat committee or an area if it's a Republican committee. These zones or areas, in turn, belong in answer to the county headquarters of their respective political leaning, whatever it is, Democrat, Republican. In the political party organization, it's set up, again, just like even a car club. There's a chairman, a vice chair, all the standard organization make up a treasurer or whatever, secretary. It's the same as every other type of established club, complete with bylaws. These committees have to reorganize according to the specifics of their bylaws. It can be every year, every 2 years, whatever the specific bylaws state. And here's where the power struggle starts. But it's something that rarely the public knows about, which is funny because these are the people that vet, or are supposed to vet, and select the candidates they endorse for the election. This is how you're presented with the people you get to choose from on your ballot. It all starts way further down. And people don't know this. Now, if their candidate wins, the person they selected for you to vote for, that person could be a total narcissist or a great guy. But the committee is the one that gave that stamp of approval. And it's important to know that while I tell you the next part of this operation, or the next part of this monologue on the inner workings of the political committee operations, you need to understand this. This is the basis for it. So now let me tell you about a power struggle. We're going to get to the power struggles on this thing. Everybody thinks they have a better idea. Sometimes that dream can only be attained, at least they believe it, by becoming the big cheese, the leader of the organization. This was the case recently at the county party reorganization. I'm not going to get into which party it was because it's not important. Both sides have these battles. But in this specific one, this is how it went down. This is the power play, the strategies, and the maneuvering. Okay? If you want to become a candidate in whatever you do, this is how it works. The process is to declare your candidacy. So, when the time came up for the reorganization for this particular party, one person did this as soon as the opportunity was allowed. The next step is they need to campaign. They need to solicit all the members that are going to be voting for them. You know, this can be done by going to the zone or area meetings and addressing the committee members and let them ask all the questions they want. Now, the problem is there's a whole lot of zones and a whole lot of areas, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Now you're traveling multiple days and days and days, unless they have overlapping ones. Sometimes they do have overlapping ones. Sometimes at the same time, it becomes very difficult. So sometimes what they do is they regionalize. And what they do is you just go to the region meetings instead, which is a grouping of zones or areas, right? And then they can address more committee people and let them ask all the questions because it's far more efficient there. In this instance, something else happened. As I said, the one person declared immediately, and nobody else. Now I'm going to call that Team 1 because they declared first, for no other reason. As time ticked on, regions were setting dates on calendars. It was being put out to the party, and they announced everything and said, here you go. This is where they're going to be. You can go see them. So the candidate and the selected board members, the executive vice chair, vice chairman, treasurer, etc. Yes, they all get voted on too. They're going to come to get grilled by the people that are voting for them. And some of them are really tough questions. But in the background was another person that chose not to take the conventional method of answering the questions, which is going to the meetings and actually talking to people. And that is accepted. You can do that. I don't think it's a wise idea, but it is very clever if you don't want people to know really what you're all about. You know, there's a belief that what she was doing was planning just to get nominated from the floor the day of the reorganization and put on a fiery speech about transparency and qualifications, all the while not having to be interviewed and asked inconvenient questions. You see, like I spoke about in the beginning, it is normal for people, when put in a position of making a last-minute decision, they depend upon emotion instead of logic, facts, and historical data. There isn't any times they have to go with what they hear there and then. You're shortcut. You don't have the time to do the research. So now you have to just listen and trust what the people say. That usually makes for a bad choice, but it is very advantageous, especially if the person making the shortcut tactic is someone that has a base and following her or him, since their job appears to just be writing articles and appearing on the radio. You can buffalo a lot of people when you merely talk but don't answer questions. I could do that here. I don't. I tell you the facts, what it is, not half-truths. But you're always welcome to email me, or I'll call you, or whatever. The challenger, the group I'm going to call Team 2, because they declared second, who could have done the process right away but chose not to, was called out. They were forced into the light of day and couldn't do an end run like she had strategized. She had written an article talking about Team 1, badmouthed them, said all sorts of things, but really didn't have any solutions. And one person at the end of her Substack article just tore into her and went, listen, Either step up or step away. There's only one person running. Well, the writer, I think, suspected that she'd been planning it for a long time. Well, she had no choice. She had to declare her candidacy instead of waiting until getting nominated on the floor. And that removed her protective cloak of silence, which now gave people the time to start doing research. Nobody's going to research on someone who may not end up being a candidate, right? But with about a week to go till the election and her refusing to go to one remaining region meeting, get this, because she said it wouldn't be fair to all the other regions, people started getting suspicious. So her and her proposed board set up a Zoom call so people could answer questions. See, once you do that, now you're controlling the narrative. If it's at a region meeting, it's a question and answer. You can't be shut down by Zoom or say, oh, you're being mean or whatever. There were words in this meeting used. They were like unity and working together and common cause and all sorts of things. Put our differences behind. Treat each other with respect. It was all the platitudes of feel-good words. And you know what? It's great. I believe we should do that. But when the hard questions, when the really hard questions, when pressed on these questions, they became condescending and dismissive, really. During the Zoom meeting, one frustrated questioner, he stated that they avoided vetting by not doing it properly, and he demanded he be heard because you need to be properly vetted. Somebody called his frustration a microaggression. It wasn't. Listen, he was upset, he was loud, and he was angry. Rightfully so. But it was not a microaggression, which is a ridiculous term anyway. It was a deserved macro frustration. That guy called them out for what they were doing, and then they became dismissive. A well-wielded technique of deflection. People saw through that thin veneer that hid the real individuals that they were. The day of the reorganizational meeting, the two candidates and the respective slate of board members came together. There was clearly a strong division. This was not like shake hands, good luck, may the best man, best woman win, which would normally happen. But this was a strong division, which you would expect. Literature was distributed by both teams, showing the candidates and the team members. Then a historical fact sheet about Team 2 got distributed. I read it. I looked up the very public information. It's true, and not partial truths, that when you hear the whole story is something completely different from what was being advertised. And that, my friends, enraged Team 2. But when you do a short sell like they were trying to do, you'd never be able to find out that information. So what Team 2 did is they rolled over. They had a plan B. She became a victim, pulling on the power of the emotional vote. She held up that paper, and she was waving it around, and she said something about it being posted in the men's bathroom, which I thought was kind of odd that she got it from there. Now, I'm not judging. She can use that bathroom if she wants, but women's bathrooms are usually far nicer. I will tell you, her skill in speaking, most likely from her time in media, was far superior to the Team 1 candidate. A man who commanded a nuclear submarine for many years with many lives at stake, and I don't know, like 100 nuclear-tipped warheads on board. Calm and cool assessment and evaluation is the difference between life and death in his business, and you only get one chance to make the right decision. An asset that is important when operating, say, a nuclear submarine or making judgment calls on business and politics, well, that's good. But calm and cool doesn't sell nearly as well as passionate and emotional, and especially when combined with victimhood. See, people like to vote for an underdog. That's how Minnesota got Jesse Ventura, and that worked out well, didn't it? Team 2 had an air of confidence, I'm telling you right now, was well-deserved. They played a strong hand and were extremely persuasive. In the last week prior to the reorg election, they had successfully skirted the questions for the most part with obfuscation and shut down the difficult ones. So here's what happened. When the voting took place, the crowd literally went silent. The count was announced. And by an almost 2-to-1 margin, the results were in. Team 1 decimated the tactics of Team 2. The election of Team 2 board members was even a harsher rejection. But it had a very good chance of being successful if they hadn't been called out so people could do their own research and know the truth and know the history. And here is where people knew they made the proper decision. Members of the committee saw through that thin veneer that hid those real individuals that they were. Especially when that facade fell away when the results came through. The FUs to certain people that gave the hard questions, the ones that campaigned against them, the yelling in the faces of individuals, the blaming of a paper of facts being published and handed out that most people never read. They blamed everyone. I'm surprised the janitor didn't get, blamed because it apparently was hanging above a urinal. I don't know. They blamed everyone and everything, including me, but never themselves for their loss. So, what happened about the coming together and unity they called for? On Facebook, it doesn't sound like they want any part of that now. Because they were saying, listen, after this, we have to come together. We have to come together. But apparently, it only counted if they took over the committee. But now it's confirmed to the voters that picked Team 1 that they made the right decision. But rest assured, it's not over for the team with that thin veneer. They'll regroup. They'll try again. But their history will always follow them. It's time to pay a couple bills, and I'll be back with my guest, Tom Helwig, to give an update on what's going on in the Russian-Ukraine war.
Barry D is back with All Politics Are Local.
I am back. My guest, typically monthly guest, is Tom Helwig. Tom Helwig has been on here many times before talking about the Russian-Ukraine war, and he has a very good perspective of it. You see, Tom started life as in the aviation industry.
Who?
Tom Helwig, are you not listening? And he started in the aviation industry first as a mechanic, and I'm not really sure. He's never been able to tell me the part number for the... He's never been able to tell me the part number for the chemtrails nozzle, which I don't know. If anybody would know, he would. He worked on jets. He worked on helicopters. I would have figured he's at least serviced one or two chemtrail pumps, but apparently not. Anyway, he started there, went to work for some big league companies, including Boeing, and then, by the way, former Marine, did his time in the Marines, where he worked on helicopters. Then he went overseas, and he worked as a contractor over in the United Arab Emirates, which took him to some very, very hot spots, believe it or not, under the radar. And so he has connections in Russia, in Ukraine, all over the Middle East. So his perspectives are not only from what he's able to evaluate from reports that he gets in, but also from actual personal experiences of people. So he makes phone calls, and they report into him. So he has some really good data. Now, you might ask why this is important. I'm going to tell you why this is important. How does this affect Chester County? I'll tell you how it affects Chester County. I've said it before. Security. This war has single-handedly changed warfare with drones. The drone technology you see today and the swarm technology and all that has all effectively been put in by Ukraine. They have mastered it to the point that our government better be watching it, better be learning from these guys, because this is the new technology. That also means that it's a new technology that could be used in terrorism, so it has to be able to be anti-terrorism. So with that, Tom Helwig, thank you for being here with me again today.
Hi, no problem, Barry. Before we start with the Ukraine-Russia situation, just a quick little thing, because I get a lot of people ask me what's going on over in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, right?
Well, on one hand, we've got a letter of a memorandum of understanding that's supposedly in place. It's going to yield up a peace plan. On the other hand, I see that the Iranians managed to launch a missile attack on a ship yesterday. So I'm not sure. All of my people tell me they're not sure either. It just seems to be very confused right now.
In your opinion, in the end, the Iranians going to stick to any deal anyway?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's one thing I can say with surety.
Yeah, you were there long enough.
They're
pretty much roundly hated by everybody that surrounds them.
Well,
they just tolerate them, and they don't want to go after each other. They want to keep that down, even though they're launching missiles to all the other surrounding people.
Absolutely true. Just you're never going to get a workable agreement out of that. That's my opinion. And full disclosure, I'm a Republican. I support the administration down in Washington, so I will speak out directly against. I think any attempt to make a deal with them that isn't concretely enforced through not the carrot but use of the stick is never gonna work. We're gonna be back there in another couple of years with the same old. Mm-hmm. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to move on.
Okay, so what do we got? What's happening there? I know things have been hot. You know, a lot of stuff's just not getting reported because everybody's concerned with Iran because of fuel. There's no fuel coming out of Ukraine, so they don't care about that. Although Russia's a big supplier of energy.
Russia's a huge supplier on the global market of fuel. Well, used to be.
Right.
Not anymore. Just a quick numbers thing. 1,400,000, just short of 1,400,000 Russian combatants off the battlefield. The numbers are just becoming staggering. Last month, you're looking at 35,000 troops finished.
Either injured or killed.
Injured severely. Talking like missing arms, legs, eyeballs, things like that. Not going back to combat with any reasonable position, or just plain outright dead. And the ratio of killed KIAs is now growing because it's all being done through drones. It's crazy. Drone technology, we think these things flying around. Well, now we've got them in the water. People have been exposed to a little bit of that. We have sea drones. But now there are land drones. Actually, like things that are basically the side of a quad bike, only they have tracks on them typically.
Right.
Controlled autonomously through AI and through direct operator control behind the lines. They send these things out for two purposes: to do resupply, to do haulbacks of injured people, but also now they're mounted with artillery, with weaponry, with machine guns, mortars, all kinds of weaponry. For the first time in history, a town in Ukraine was liberated without any humans being there.
That's frightening.
It's now the Terminator thing's almost for real. It's crazy.
And I bet you the accuracy is 100%.
Well, it's...
We're damn close to it.
I wouldn't want to be involved on the front line at all.
Once the laser locks on you, you're done.
Yeah.
Heat, laser, done.
Yeah, it's crazy the way that works. Elon Musk and SpaceX has finally pretty much pulled the plug on the Starlink access for Russian forces, starting in early February 2026 this year. And in the short course of months that followed that, the Russian advances have utterly collapsed. Their casualty rate is spiked.
Well, they're starting to run blind.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the next part. They attempted a workaround like that. They said, oh, well, we'll just get our friend next door, Lukashenko, over there in Belarus. We'll put up some antennas over here, and we'll use them as repeater stations. Well, Vladimir Zelensky sent a message to Lukashenko here just a few days ago. It says, we're giving you 7 days to take them down. Shut them off, or we're going to do it ourselves.
Well, that's Russia's really only ally in that region.
4 days later, Belarus shut them down.
Really?
They only have 1 or 2 refineries, and they realize what's going to happen. We're not just going to go after a couple of antennas. They're going to take out their fuel supply.
Yeah, keep your antennas.
Which will cause the entire collapse of that society over there, which is essentially what we're now looking at over in Russia. The Ukrainians have been making 2 large headways that are there. One is long-range drones. We're talking 1,000-plus miles with warheads of over 2,000 pounds. You start lobbing things like that into refineries, they're done. And particularly if you shut down the cat cracker units and things like that, where are you going to get the parts to rebuild that? Most of that was Western technology anyhow. So rebuilding of that, I'll give you an example. Refinery just 15 kilometers outside of center of Moscow, it's done. The Ukrainians hit it, it's finished. It has been cut severely. 40% of the Moscow region's fuel supplies, that's diesel and regular gasoline, is offline.
How are the people managing? What are they doing for that? Because if you've got shortages like that, what are they doing?
It's interesting that you say that, because I don't like to look at just like, here's a headline, there's a headline.
Right.
First, I like to see visual proof in the form. Usually I like to look at satellite imagery, and I also like to look at video, live feed. That's pretty good. Reliable. But there's an even better tell on that. If you curtail gasoline and there are huge long queues, what do people generally do? When you're faced with a fuel shortage prospect, or a toilet paper shortage prospect, or a potato shortage, what do you usually do?
Start looking to get it someplace else.
Well, not only that, but you're looking to stockpile.
Right.
So, how do you stockpile some gasoline for your car?
Oh, well, you go to the gas station, you get gas, or you steal it from somebody else's place, you put it in jerry cans or gas cans, and you take it back to your garage.
You not only try to fill your tank in the car, but you look to throw some in the trunk in the form of gas cans.
I had to do that back in the 70s. In the fuel crisis, remember that?
Those of us who are old enough, yes, even in odd plates and all that kind of stuff, we're familiar with that. Well, guess what? A 5-gallon plastic gas can in Russia is now selling for, wait for it, about $100 if you can find one.
Really?
That tells me one thing. The gas shortage is indeed real.
Yeah, no question.
Leads us to Crimea. Crimea, for those who don't know, is a peninsula. It has only a couple of very small entrance locations to that rather large peninsula.
And no fresh water, right? There's no fresh water.
Very little fresh water. Very little. Well, right now, they have a little problem. All of those approach avenues, there's essentially 2 train line crossings, a couple of land bridges. The Ukrainians have wiped those out, droned them. They're finished.
Really?
And the supply over the water, the marine terminal's been hit also, along with the ferry ships that ferry train traffic, in particular fuel. Crimea is essentially without fuel now. The Ukraine has also decided to step up and also take out a couple of electrical nodes here and there. And now, no or very limited fuel, no or very limited electricity, which then leads to limited or no water. It's now starvation time in Crimea. This is old history. If one looks at all the history of Crimea over the centuries, you find that type of warfare being practiced. This is not
over and over.
Not a new thing.
Well, that's how they did the castles. But it's the same strategy. All you had to do was you didn't have to beat down the door of the castle. You just had to starve them out. You had to poison the water that was coming into the castle.
That was the technique. You're going to put up the siege until those inside are starved out. 33% approximately of Russia's total domestic oil refining capabilities have now been taken offline. The only refineries that they have that are virtually untouched are the ones that are out in Vladivostok on, next to Alaska. Short of that, they've all suffered hits of one degree or another, which are starting to force a cumulative effect. Once upon a time in World War II, the Allies made the strategic calculation that if we starve Germany for fuel, then we could break their military machine.
It got to the point where they were actually pulling the caissons with horses.
Yes, absolutely. We decided to launch a raid out of Benghazi to attack the Poesti oil fields in Romania that were under German control to achieve that. The famous raid, it was disastrous.
They ended up with a problem. They got navigation or something with that, wasn't it?
There were many problems with that, but yes, it was one of the most disastrous
they got slaughtered in that
war.
Yeah.
The key though was we went back and we went back And we went back, and we went back, and ultimately we did break those refineries, and the fuel was then indeed cut off, and the result, as you say, Germans were reduced to pulling artillery with horses. So, yeah, that's in process now in Ukraine, and most definitely in Russia. The other thing that I see that's happening is intermediate level or range drones. We're talking about distances about 50 miles. They're about 50, 60 miles. And carrying warheads somewhere in the neighborhood of between, 12 and 25 pounds.
Still damn powerful.
Oh, yes. Drop 25 pounds of high explosive on something, it goes away.
Yep.
Unless it's a heavily fortified bunker. So all of the...
Which most are not.
Yeah. All of the logistics that you need to run your war are shipped to the front by rail and by truck.
And then delivered by Amazon.
Yeah, and then delivered, and it's usually broken. And delivered to, like, the wrong address.
The neighbors.
Yeah, the neighbors got your... Yeah. And depending upon what you ordered, that could be very dicey.
I'll tell you what, that's right. That's not mine, baby. Let's take a break real quick. We're going to come back with more with Tom Helwig.
Barry D is back with All Politics Are Local.
All right, I am back with Tom Helwig. We are talking about the Russian-Ukraine war and the tactics being used by both sides. One of them is catching drones, and the other's sending drones.
Yeah, there's both sides of that equation. There's defense drone and there's attack drone. The Ukrainians are now using mid-range, intermediate-range drones to destroy Russian logistics into their territory.
Now, are these winged or helicopter
They're
type?
both.
Okay.
They have both flavors. We have fixed-wing type drones, and we have, like
octocopters, yeah.
Well, those are the big ones, yeah, which now serve as motherships, by the way, also.
What, and then they just launch other ones?
Other smaller drones.
So they use the one to get out so far, and then they can extend range?
Yep. It's crazy.
Clever stuff, man.
That's
just like the warhead thing where they split off and then they go off again.
Yeah,
right.
It's
same thing.
It's some crazy stuff. I'll just talk about a few other things. Russia's Space Communications Center was hit and heavily damaged. The oil refinery in Moscow offline at least until next year. That's a minimal estimate.
Well, that's job security, though. They got people. They'll have jobs.
Yeah. Well, no. If you look at the satellite pictures, it's interesting. The parking lot's empty at that facility now.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well,
why? They shipped everybody to the front?
More than likely. A little personnel problem there.
Yeah.
At 35,000 casualties a month, we got to backfill that somehow.
I don't want that letter that says your friends and neighbors have selected you to join the Army.
Yeah, it's not good.
I've actually met people that rolled out of Russia. I met some illegals. And actually it started New York, because they're very friendly to illegals. They had started a car business, and they were buying cars down here because the cars down here in Pennsylvania are much nicer than up in New York City. And, I met these guys.
That explains why I can't get a cheaper car up here.
Right, well, yeah, that's the thing. That's exactly what's happening. And Princess was actually talking to them, and they said, oh, no, we escaped. They got into Mexico, and then they came up through the border.
A lot of people with skills,
they thought they were going, man,
and things, educated people are indeed seeking ways, both legal and illegal, to escape.
Right, because they might get. They
don't want to be sucked up in this. They're smart enough to realize
no, the bad
not a good
news.
plan.
Yep.
We're talking about a little other thing that's interesting is how all of a sudden Elon Musk bunch has shut down the Starlink, so Russian abilities have been effectively blind now. The Russians also have their air defense. Over 66% of all their air defense equipment is wiped out. So now the Ukrainians are able to strike pretty much with impunity all over the country. And one of the other things that kind of goes under the radar, nobody really talking about too much, is the cooperation from the United States government. You cannot fly a drone 1,000 miles over enemy territory that essentially is a Cessna 172 or something packed with a bunch of TNT We're not talking about like really fast. Now, the Ukrainians have developed some cruise missile type weapons that do travel at speed, but a lot of these drones are going 120 miles an hour, maybe.
You have to stay low if you're going to do it to stay out of the radar.
Interesting you say that. Not only do you have to stay low, but you've got to thread your way through all the various radar coverages.
Yep.
Well, how do you know where those radar coverages are?
Right.
Well, the United States knows how to find that information out. We're the ones that are supplying that information on the backside very quietly to the Ukrainians so that they can actually make effective use of the drone attacks. Otherwise, all your drones would just be shot down. And I find that to be interesting. There's not a lot of talk about that because we're kind of doing that on the backside.
Yeah, because as you get close to the radar, you're going to get it picked up because it's broadcasting out for its reflection, right?
Sure.
So it's like when you're away from it through the hills and all that, you got to be above 500 feet. You get down on what they call the grass, and you're fine, except as you get close to the radar station.
Yep.
Then it's all the way to the ground.
And where are those radar stations located? You might want to know that, and since these things are mobile, they shift around. It's kind of like the pizza thing. There's 8 slices and there's 9 people. Somebody's not going to get a slice. And the same goes for the air defense coverage and the radar
coverage. If I'm eating
it,
somebody's not going to get 2 slices.
Right now, the Russians are pulling back a lot of air defense to the Moscow region because important people live there and their stuff's getting blown up and they're angry. Got to placate that, which now leaves other gaps in other areas, and you're starting to see that being exploited. And that's pretty much how it's going on. The State Department here in the United States, pretty much for the first time, have openly come out and say, yeah, Ukraine's kind of winning like right now. They're taking territory more than Russia's taking back, which is the harder thing to do. Attacking is always harder than defending. So they're beginning to claw back territory, and Crimea is looking ever much more increasingly like they got about 80,000 troops down there. Well, I hope they like eating sand because there's not going to be a lot left. Their effectiveness down there...
Because they're not going to get anything delivered by sea.
No,
it's commanded.
Everything is shut off now.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, also, you start to see some other things because Putin's plan for running this war to begin with was to push back against NATO, to push NATO back. Well, that didn't work out so well because now Sweden and Finland have joined NATO, so that's a whole problem.
Yeah, they wanted to stay out of that, but they decided it was much better to be with one than the other.
Yeah, they looked at that and said, I'm thinking we're going to have to get involved. The other thing is there's an enclave that lies between Poland and Lithuania, and that's called Kaliningrad. Used to be Königsberg, used to be East Prussia. Well, the Germans lost World War II, so that was handed back over to the Soviets who liberated that, and it still remains there. Less and less protection there, stuff floating the wrong way, and the Europeans have finally decided that they've had enough of the nonsense with the oil being shipped on shadow fleets through their area. Most of these shadow fleet tankers are just old, worn-out, broken-down tankers, which what? Well, if you want the next oil spill, that's probably where it's going to come from.
And technically, shadow fleets, they're unflagged.
Unflagged, no insurance.
And that means anybody can take them because they're not flagged.
According to UNCLOS, the law of the sea, you have to fly a legit flag, or else you're considered basically a
pirate.
That's right, a pirate.
Right.
So yeah, they're cracking down on this. France just captured a Russian dark or shadow fleet tanker here in the Mediterranean just the other day. Went there and dropped some people on the helicopter and said, "Uh-oh, we're done here."
I don't think I want that in my port. It might split in half.
Well, yeah, there's real concerns over safety, and they're uninsured. There's no insurance. Literally, that gets you to another issue, just to mention the insurance thing. One of the problems that oil companies, and not the oil companies per se, but their shippers, the people who own the tankers, are calling into question about the quote-unquote memorandum of agreement there. Iran gets to charge, not a toll, because we can't call it that, but you're going to have to buy Iranian insurance. Right now it's free for 60 days, but after that they get to put whatever price they want on it, and only Iranian insurance will do.
Wait, that's my people's job. The Italians. We do that.
I looked at
We
that,
do
and
that.
it was absolutely stunning to me. It's like, hey, you got a nice business here.
Be a shame
seems
if
to be
something
some
happened to it.
flammable things here, breakable items. I don't know. You might want to buy some insurance from Guido. And that is what we're seeing. And pushback from the shipping community, the Hapag-Lloyds and the Maersk and people like that, they've come out and said, this is really not workable. We don't want any parts of this chaos. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all flows out.
Well, how do you make money when you don't even know what you're going to be paying?
Exactly.
You have to charge a customer, and then all of a sudden, what do you do? The fuel surcharge? It's the insurance surcharge? It doesn't work. Everybody has to know what they're doing to be able to make money.
Or else nobody wants to get involved.
Nobody wants to get involved.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works.
Yeah. And their supply of oil is on the world market. What is it, about 4%, 5%? What are they moving?
Well, before the
a lot of it was going to China. They're going to Far
most
East.
of the oil, but here the whole use of the financial, it's all fungible. It's like, why are we paying higher prices at the pump? Well, basically, we take oil and the stuff that we pump down in the Gulf. We're not using that to make gasoline here because it's not really suited for that so much. We make other things with ours, and we ship that worldwide.
Not near as sweet, yeah.
We bring in Saudi Arabia sweet crude, and we turn that into gasoline here. So there is some justification for the price increases. I'm not sure all of the increases are wholly justifiable.
Right.
Might be a little gouging there. I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe. Just perhaps.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to say there is for sure, but yeah. A little gouging from Exxon. Who knows?
So, you know what, Tom? It's always enlightening. It gives us some good idea. Things have gotten a little stale. I saw that oil was down below $80 a barrel. It has been for a while. It's stable while they're waiting for a final deal to be done, and then it's going to drop again, I think.
If there's an actual deal that's workable that comes out, we'll watch fuel prices drop significantly, I feel. Probably, 25% thereabouts, But if it just descends back into chaos, well, I hope
speculators run the market.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you got your tank full because it's going to get uglier.
Yeah.
Not better.
Yeah.
So I've been holding off since the end of winter to fill my propane tank.
I get it.
Know.
Yeah. Well, propane's not so bad, though, because we have a lot of that because of Marcellus Shale.
True.
And I say that because I like to say Marcellus. Okay, Tom Helwig, thank you for coming on.
One last thing.
Go.
A shameless plug for PavukSpidersNet.org.
How do you spell Pavuk?
Oh, my. Let me see here. I'm going to get the correct spelling because I am
glasses
not
for this.
I'm not the correct speller here. That's for me. PavukSpidersNet.org is an organization that is a 501c nonprofit that's been set up to provide aid to Ukrainian schools and clinics that have been destroyed, damaged. Things like putting in new windows, putting in electrical restructure, things like that, internet, things of that nature.
I'll put it on my Facebook page.
Help the Ukrainian society rebuild their civilian infrastructure.
Outstanding. Thank you
much.
Sadly, though, I have to bring the show to a close.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do. As always, my eternal gratefulness to Eric Clambera, my trusty producer and host of the morning show, of which I have the honor of co-hosting with him on Mondays and Wednesdays. Eric told me that working with me makes him appreciate life because everything gets easier when I leave the building.
You know better than that.
Yeah, I do. Join Eric and myself on the morning show from 7 to 10 a.m. on Monday. We have news, weather, traffic reports. We talk about what's going on in the world today. That can include you when you call in. That would be 610-701-9243. But you got to call. Otherwise, I'm coming over to your house.
Go ahead. Make my day.
If you want to know what's going on around the county, hang out with us and mention WCHE to your friends because we're just too good not to share. And if you like my show, take the time to send a nice note to WCHE at 953WCHE.com. Some people say my show, it gives them anxiety. You know what that means?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, not. Every week from the beginning of the show, I mentioned the Duchess of Westchester Broadcasting, Donna Saul, manager here at the station. Last week she called me, and when I answered, she sounded kind of surprised. Then she said something about canceling a check she gave to a hitman and hung up. I thought that was weird.
No!
Be sure to like and follow the WCHE Facebook page where you can keep up on all that's happening around the town and the county. And you can also see updates and videos on my Facebook page, which is WCHE, All Politics Are Local with Barry D, and my YouTube channel, All Politics Are Local with Barry D. Today's intro and outro music comes from that makeup group, Kiss. This song, Detroit Rock City, is from 1976. Never charted on the Billboard Hot 100, but it did hit 99 in Canada and 14 in Germany. Their next song that came out right after that, Beth, well, that one kicked butt. It did like number 7. But that's not the one for today. Final advice of the day, I'm going to reiterate for my monologue. Don't make decisions based on emotion, because the next thing you'll have is regret. I'm Barry D for All Politics Are Local. Thanks for listening.